Hello everyone, my name is Jeff, and this is the Chihayafuru episode 12 and 13 review. With me, as always, is Coby. Welcome to the show, Coby.
Oh my god, 12 and 13. There were 2 episodes of Chihayafuru. Jeff, did you know that this show is back for a 3rd season?
Yeah, and we're right in the middle of it. It's a new year, new Chihayafuru. I'm glad that we only missed 2 episodes over the holidays. I thought we'd have to catch up with like 4. So that's half of what I was expecting.
But is that a bad thing? Because this show is geared, I think, much better when you can binge it. I think when you can watch episode chunks at a time, then I think some of the emotion and the tenseness behind it is better. So I'm not saying it's bad watching it week by week. I'm just saying I could see me going down a very deep rabbit hole where I'm forced to watch every episode all at once because I need to know what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a compliment to the show that it's so bingeable. It's that I feel whenever I watch this show, it seems like the episodes go by so fast because so much happens. But it's not in a bad way where it's like I'm completely lost as to what's going on and like the pace is so frenetic. It's actually perfectly paced and it always ends on a very fun and relevant cliffhanger. And there's so much development that goes on. There's a lot of satisfying moments in it. And it's just like I just want to keep on going, keep on watching, keep on going to the next moment. And that's definitely what these 2 episodes have done effectively. We were kind of debating if we were going to wait till next week to do the next episode because this Master and Queen qualifier arc is not completely done, but pretty sure it's going to be finished next episode for sure. But yeah, I mean,
because we had to talk about it. There was so much to hype up in anticipation for next week's match. I think these 2 were a great foundation to lead us into the final round of this Masters qualifier.
Yeah, and so I wanted to start with, I guess, our predictions from prior episodes. I forgot my predictions. Do you remember your predictions?
I did too. I'm going to say whatever's happening in the show. I'm going to say whatever's happening in the show is what I predicted.
Absolutely what you predicted.
And just go with that.
I think. Okay. So first of all, genuinely, I think that I did predict that. God, what's her name? I've forgotten all the names. It's been too long. But the mom.
Yeah, mom. She's the only name I don't know.
Yeah, Chihaya mom, the Chihaya MILF.
Yeah, Chihaya. Yeah. Just Chihaya. We can just say Chihaya. She's her.
Chihara? Her
Don't call her that.
Her maiden name is Chihara. I remember that.
Chihara, yeah. But don't add a MILF there at the end of it, because that just loses us all credibility.
Okay, so the Chihara, she won her Queen qualifier. She won her first match. Not handily. She struggled for it, but she was sort of inspired by Harada's win, which I think was a really cool moment. And then she won the second one because family support is greater than fanboy support, it turns out.
That's a good message behind that. I see. I didn't put that connection together. I will say that's the one thing that I didn't like about these 2 episodes, just because of how they have to be structured, is that second match between them totally went by in like a blink of an eye between the mom and Megumu. It was just like, oh, nope, mom won, and she's moving on. It's like, oh, okay. Like, and I guess that makes sense because the main bulk of this match needs to be Harada and Arata, but it was still like a very quick resolution.
Yeah, I mean, I personally didn't have any problem with it. I think that, as you said, the main attraction was Harada and Arata anyways. And the explanation they give for her winning the second match was good enough for me. It was just like, basically a few sentences of, she's getting faster, she's getting even better. When you lose, you get better. If you don't lose, you don't have the opportunity to be better. And they kind of flashed a picture of Shinobu, the current queen, on there. And I was like, oh, interesting. Does that mean that Shinobu is stale because she hasn't lost this whole time? I guess the anime is saying, yes, losing is good. So Shinobu is not good.
Yeah, but no way Shinobu loses to Chihara, mom, right? Like, Shinobu has got to stay the queen here, right?
I would say so, yeah. Definitely so. But, I don't know. I think it's just satisfying for me. I personally was rooting for her anyways. I didn't really care so much about...
Yeah, I think I was too.
Yeah, the other character's name, I think her name was Megumin. But
yeah, Megumi, yeah.
Yeah, I think her story is pretty much over. And so, I don't know. I was still feeling for for Chihara. I think her name is Inoue, actually, but we'll still keep calling her Chihara.
Yes. That'll be just confusing though. Inoue is probably more correct.
Okay, fine. Inoue. Inoue's arc about like, am I too old? Is this it for me? I'm being surpassed? I like that whole moment where she was, watching everyone cheer for Megumin and how she was like, thinking about what it was like when she was a kid and stuff like that, and how she's slowing down, but she gets inspiration from the other old person in the room, from Harada's win, and that is all she needs to affirm that yes, in fact, it is not too late for me. And I don't know, I thought it was awesome. Go Inoue.
Yeah, because it's great. It's this ability shows for characters to have their own separate stories, but also be inspired by the stories that are happening around them. I think usually sometimes in shows and in anime in general, things are so singularly driven, right? Like everything is just focused on one plot point. You can't have all these side splinters of things, let alone have them affect one another in a meaningful way. Dr. Harada is going through his own sort of arc, his own sort of storyline with Arata and everything like that. And with Inoue fully being inspired by that, not only being inspired by it, but it also complementing her own arc so well. It's just really good storytelling and makes it a really good watch.
And I was also thinking about the reason they can do this, the reason they can delve into these side stories of these side characters, is because they put Chihaya aside and they let her character development kind of stall for a bit, kind of let her give her some air, give her some breathing room while everyone else gets a chance in the spotlight, which I didn't like really think about until this episode. And I just was thinking about how, wow, that's really goddamn smart for a show to just do that, just to be like, okay, yeah, because they could very well have had Chihaya be in this qualifier at this time, and that probably would have been fine. She probably would have lost, and then in her third year, she goes to the qualifier again, then she wins, and that would have been like, pretty. I think that would have been pretty standard, a pretty satisfying arc also. But by putting her aside, putting her completely out of the spotlight, it just gives more time to these other characters like Harada and like Inoue. And damn, this show is so good. Like how I can't really think of another show that's really put aside she is the titular character, Chihayafuru. Chihaya is not even the main character, hasn't been the main character for the past several episodes. Can you think of another show that has shoved aside their main character like that to let other stuff go on?
The only one that I can't think of off the top of my head, but I will say I do think this is a much better show than the one I'm about to reference, but I just think the format in terms of letting all these side characters be developed and have their own story and arc is Yuri on Ice. I think you have your main characters for Yuri and Yurio and everything, but then you also kind of branch off against these other skaters about why they're skating and why they're winning and everything like that. I'm not saying that, but it doesn't even do it as well as this one, because in this one we're watching a qualifying match with only one of the main characters in it, Arata, and then there's Dr. Harada and Megumu, and then Inoue in their side characters, but you're rooting for all of them and you're interested in the story where really all four of them could be main characters. So no, to answer your question, it's I can't think of another show that does it like that. Yeah,
and even in other sports animes, I think usually decent ones will always delve into the backstories of their side characters. We always reference Haikyuu. That's because it's our favorite, and it's because it's one of the shining examples of sports anime. But you go into the teammates' side stories, and you go into the enemies or the rival side stories and stuff like that. But it's still all within the context of, the main character's team competing against other people and following that main character and their journey through the competitions. But in here, what's unique is that, the main character's not even in the running at all. They're just a spectator, and they've been a spectator now for so many episodes. And it's just
right.
The way they've done it is, I think, very applaudable, I would say, and clever.
Yeah.
So anyways, Inoue wins, and I think that was my prediction last time, because I think it would have been really shitty if she lost. It would have made me feel bad if she lost. It would have been really crushing, like, ugh.
She is too old. But then, because you could have gone the other way, she could have lost and been like, okay, I tried my hardest, and what's important to me is my family.
That is true, but
it could have been an option.
The other prediction was that Arata versus Harada. I think I'm basically doing what you're saying, which is like everything that happened is what we predicted. And I mean, the Arata versus Harada match hasn't completed yet, but we can talk about our predictions on that front. But say Inoue lost, and then Harada lost, which I think is what's going to happen. Then that would have been like two veterans going down, and then the whole message of like, it would be like the show saying affirmatively, yes, once you get to a certain point, you are too old to have ambition, so don't even try, kind of thing. And that would have been kind of a depressing message, I think. So
by that rationale, shouldn't Dr. Harada win this? Shouldn't he be the one just to prove that that's not wrong? Because time and time again, the show has proven that karuta can be for everybody.
That's true, but I think it's
by having. Oh wait, no, because she already won, so I guess Dr. Harada can lose. Never mind.
Exactly, yeah. So you would have, one of the veterans win, and then one of the veterans lose, and so you kind of have, you still have that message of yes, you can have ambition at any age, but yes, young talent and hard work can still outpace old age and ambition, So I think that having that balance, and who knows, I could still be wrong, that Harada could end up winning, but I think I'm betting that he's going to lose in the next round. It will be an epic loss for sure, but I think that's where
I'm still torn either way, because they've done a good job into not making it too one-sided on any aspect. Because sure, like Arata came in, it's just like with his new Grandmaster technique to like be like his grandfather, and he's really showing Harada like the ropes and things. But then on the other hand, it's like then you have Suo saying, "Oh, Dr. Harada, he's exciting. I want to face him." Like that's like it's. So I think it could go either way there. But I want to talk about before like this whole match pacing in general, because I just think it's quite genius the way that they did it. Because going into the match when it's best like 2 out of 3, you got to win 2 matches out of 3. Immediately you're kind of thinking, okay, so they're going to go 1-on-1, or are they going to go, is one person going to win twice? And then when they have the reader from his past saying, who showed up and they said, she's reading the 3rd match if we get that far. So you're like, well, obviously we're going to make it to the 3rd match now, because there's no way they would introduce us without having it. So then by having Harada win the 1st match, but then his strategy of completely forfeiting the 2nd match is just so genius and a great way to do that while still keeping the tension up.
Yeah.
Like it was just a baller move. It was so good on every single level that I can imagine.
Yeah, and it totally fits with his character too, and where he is and where we know he is, which is he's an old guy. He has knee issues. It, like I said, every level, strategically, in character-wise, it works on...
Story-wise,
story-wise, it works on affecting Arata, because he's just like, I don't have a chance to win fair and square in the 2nd match. And I completely agree, baller move is the best way to put that. And I get...
It's...
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just singing this praise again of Dr. Harada as a character, someone who's grown into someone who just is someone who is so driven by desire, but also has this strategy and method of playing karuta that goes back into like the early days of these reviews when we're talking about how much we love karuta, is like the strategy of it. Like Dr. Harada emphasizes this, like he is the embodiment of strategy when it comes to karuta.
Yeah, and, from the very beginning of the match, when he asks, he kind of throws off the reader and everyone else, and he's like, the air conditioning's still on. Can you please turn that off? That was cool. And I love that, because this whole time, Harada is basically he is the teacher of the Shiranami Society, which is where Chihaya and Taichi and I don't know who else, but anyways, they've learned from this guy how to play karuta, and his play is aggressive style karuta. And he really embodies that in these episodes. Like, we've seen him play in the past before, where he's like a total bear. A bear is what they describe him as, but I don't think they've quite characterized him as well as they have in these 2 episodes. Especially in the first one, where it's like he literally uses like the size of his body to like overwhelm the opponent's space so that they don't have enough room to like move. And that is just super aggressive. That is... Yeah, I mean...
But it's a strategy. It's not like this innate thing. It's something you have to actively think about and implement during your match.
Yeah, exactly. It's smart, and I'm running out of words to say how good this show is, essentially.
Yeah.
But Harada's awesome. That's all I can really say.
He was awesome to me before this, but I think this just arc with him has just solidified him as like one of the best side characters of this show. Someone who has the most complexity and drive to like win this, where you're really behind him and rooting for him to win. and you're just hoping his heart doesn't explode.
Yeah, exactly. And I absolutely love it when shows have like this sensei character, and I love it when they give that sensei character a chance to shine, because that the sensei is a sensei for a reason. They have wisdom, experience, and I basically love seeing old people like just kick ass, like people like those in their elderly roles, sort of stately teacher roles in society, where they just kind of go out balls to the wall and they're still able to show why they're at the top,
Yeah, they prove on why they get there. I think that's the folly of some shows with senseis or older characters in general. Like, you're told that, these guys were great before, or they're the masters and they're really wise, but you only believe that because you're told that. Mm-hmm. Right? Dr. Harada still emphasizes why he's on top and why every move he makes is both this really kind, kind of sage like wisdom, because he really loves the sport of karuta, but also to further his own personal desire to be the master. Like make no mistake, he is very wise, and he does want to help his students. He wants to mentor people, but he wants to win for himself.
Yeah, and that was the other half of what I wanted to say was, unlike other sensei characters, he's still a human being. I know I just said that I love watching sensei characters kick ass, but I think there is also a tendency to construct a master character in such a way that they become like this supernatural being. Like, they become almost godlike, like they're not really one with the mortal realms anymore. But, Harada is a great sensei, and he's a great character. He is a human, he is relatable, he has selfish desires, he's pretty cocky. I love when he gets up from his nap and he's like, no thanks, I don't want any chocolate, because I wonder how many calories I'm going to eat later when I'm celebrating. And I just love that. It's so
perfect.
Cool.
Not even cocky, he was just like, because he was dead serious. Like, he was just like, that's what's going to happen, I'm going to win.
Yeah, he's confident. And when he was playing against Arata in the second match, when he was starting to feel young again, it was like, yes, he's at this, he's able to play. And oh man, that match with him and Arata in the second time was such a trip. It was such a cool match. I mean, it hasn't even finished yet, but I'm just gonna say what you said earlier. It works on so many levels, because there's so many like layers here to begin with. Because Harada was Arata's sensei in the past when he moved to Tokyo as a child, and also Harada played Arata's grandpa, Wataya Arata, when he was like kind of a younger person. And so now it's like, sensei versus the master, but also master versus his old master, or his old idol, which was his grandpa. So it's like a story that has played out over generations. It's this crazy drama that is now resolving here in this one moment. And at the same time, Arata is like, his strategy is to like become his grandpa, because Chihaya told him that, he can't win on being Arata alone. He has to like become more than himself, which is what he's trying to emulate. Yeah. And then Harada is in turn, in reaction to that, playing as he was when he was younger. So it's almost like they went back in time, and we're seeing a reflection of the match that was played so many years ago. And holy shit, come on, that is amazing, isn't it?
When you put, that explanation is so perfect. It transcends just, these two people are playing a karuta game. Like, no, there's so much more to it than that.
There's so much history here. There's so much emotion. It's just amazing to me. And there's so many little moments in this match that I could just pick out. I think just the whole thing was amazing. Like, Arata acknowledging Harada and respecting him as an elder, and acknowledging that he was basically the first, or one of the sole characters in his life that comforted him when he moved to a strange new area. And so, I think there's a line where it's like, you can tell if a karuta player respects his elders by how he treats
them. And he 100%
Yeah, and he like picks up his cards and stuff like that, which is awesome. So yet there's still a rivalry there, Harada is there to beat his student, because he still wants to be the master. And I mean, I could go on and on. I think if those of you who've seen this episode, you know how great it is.
Because the line that really got us, it just, when Harada was like told Arts, it's like, you have no idea how much this means to me to play you. Or it just shows that, yes, Arata was respecting Dr. Harada, because rightfully so, but also Harada was respecting Arata. It's just such mutually massive levels of respect on each side, which makes this such a hard match to root for because you want them both to win, but just such an engaging match to watch.
Yeah, and it couldn't have been. I'm sorry, I just want to say it couldn't have been. This type of match couldn't have been done without the seasons of setup leading up to this moment. You know, us learning about Arata and the history of his grandpa, and learning about Harada and his desire to win, and the history they have together. Like, you know, this is not the kind of match you can just sort of slap on a season, you know, and just kind of construct all the important backstory. Like, so some animes do this, where they'll just have people go up against each other and be like, oh yes, we have a very deep history together. You see, 20 years ago, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, there is an element to that in this one. I don't know if we ever knew that Harada played Arata's grandpa in the past, but still.
Yeah, I don't know.
They said it in like a couple lines, and I believe it. And because I love these characters, because they've set it all up to this point, I'm on board. I'm already signed up, and I'm good for whatever happens between these two characters. So it's like, you know, if they hadn't have done all that setup, they hadn't worked so hard to make me like these characters, then it wouldn't have worked. But because they can just sort of, you know, insert that little bit of extra drama in there, a little bit of extra layer of history between, you know, Harada and Arata's grandpa, and it's just like, it just, you know, cranks it to the next level, and it doesn't really lose anything, in my opinion.
Yeah. To kind of side, what I really want to bring up is just like the construction and the sound design of this episode was different to me, because I thought this was episode 13 was the recent one, right? So it's 12 and 13. Yeah. Episode 12 was like a normal episode, but I thought episode 13, in my opinion, I don't know if it was the source I'm watching, but it was a quiet episode. People were talking quieter. The music wasn't as loud. When there was face off, there was no music at all for going that, and that really amped up everything to me when Arata was like making his sudden, you know, his water movements, like his gliding movements, when his knee suddenly gave out and it's all that static black things. It wasn't as blaring, and because I love the music on the show, I think it's great. But when they take a step back and they make it where just like there's no music going on, it's just two people going at one another, it heightens the tension and the atmosphere of the whole episode. I don't know if it was just the source I watched. I actually didn't watch this on Crunchyroll. I watched this on a different website. So it's like I didn't know if it was just the source or if that was intentionally part of the episode itself.
I didn't actually notice that, but in retrospect, I think you're absolutely right, and I think it's because when Arata changes his presence, instead of the flowy water emotions that we've come to know him as, when he transforms into grandpa mode, it all turns into ice.
Grandpa mode.
Yeah.
Super Saiyan grandpa mode.
Exactly. Like, it turns into ice. There's just icicles kind of floating around the room, and everything's really still. And I think that's so appropriate. And a really cool visualization, too. It's like, it's a natural upgrade to Arata's natural, his flowing, watery movements. It's like, well, what's a step above that? What was his grandpa like? Well, he was water that was frozen, completely ice, completely still, completely calm, and still, you know, striking and fast, but like just very still and calm and graceful. It's, I don't know, just such a cool and natural development from these visualizations. I love when they have these, you know, these extra animations on top that kind of sort of paints the emotions of the scene and the auras of the characters, you know. When I think Arata, I think water, and now when I think of his grandpa, I'm gonna be thinking of ice. And anyways.
Oh, it's good. And now when I think of Dr. Harada, I think of horrible knees.
Yeah,
so
horrible. Oh man, that moment was so perfect too. When he was like, I feel like I'm young again, and then he takes a step out onto the tatami, and then I was like, ooh.
I'm not.
Yeah, his knee starts giving out, but it's such a tragic moment, and I think they framed that so well too, where like his knee starts acting up, everyone in the room feels it, and then when Harada looks up, he sees Suo and Chihaya looking down on him on the window, and to me that communicates like, you know, he's looking up at the new future of Karuta, and his days are over essentially.
A goal he can never achieve, basically.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, the two potentially greatest players of Karuta right in front of him. And in their youth and stuff.
I do got to say though, speaking of Suo, it's like I thought that was a missed opportunity what they did with the Suo storyline here, because you have a great opportunity to really dig into Suo's psyche at least a little bit, like at least know what makes him tick, and maybe it does reveal it the way that they did, but for it to change into him suddenly falling in love with Chihaya is kind of a comedic moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think kind of robbed it of the sense of Chihaya actually being able to ask him some questions. Like, it's like, why do you hand out pastries to people? Why do you do this? Why do you do this? And when he's like, is that really what you want to ask me? Like, it sounds like it's like a really important meeting between these two where he's going to reveal some insight. But it's like, no, it's kind of a joke. We're just like, oh, I thought you were going to ask me, if I have a girlfriend, and then he has to admit that he doesn't.
Right.
Like, on some level, it works as a character, because Suo obviously is a character who's very repressed, who's very out there, who's focused on like kind of doing his own thing, and he doesn't think about his outside life outside of like Karuta. So for him being like, oh, there's pretty girls around me, it's like, okay, I could open up a little bit if I wanted to. Like, sure, like maybe, but I just wanted something more from that encounter.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like he was setting up like he was some all-knowing, wise master. Like, oh, is that really what you want to ask me? And really, it's the girlfriend thing. But on some level,
and then I laughed my ass off when cool guy walked away and then got smacked in the face, looking like twice with a volleyball and a soccer ball to the head.
Yeah, he got smacked twice with the ball in opposite directions, which was pretty fun. I like that moment too. It was I guess it's a subversion that works, I'll say. But anyways, I think that I didn't mind it as much. You're right, it was pretty much purely a comedic moment, but I still think there's potential for them to bring that up again. Like, maybe Suo does give some wisdom to Chihaya later on. In fact, I'm sure of it. I think maybe they are going to play someday, since Chihaya wants to play with him. And I guess the reason they didn't reveal that in this episode was because there were I guess two reasons. One, I guess they wanted to set up that Suo has a thing for Chihaya, like, now, because it's more lighthearted. And two, the real drama, I think, is focused around Haruta and Arata at the moment. So their encounter was more like a slight setup to their future relationship, and also comedic relief, which I think works fine for the structure of the story. So, yeah, and we do get kind of a Suo showing some respect for Haruta. He said he would be excited to play against him when he saw a room full of Class A players, I think a few episodes ago during the qualifier tournament. He was like, I don't care about any of these people. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no one excites me.
Yeah, and I think that's like it shows Haruta's power level even more. Like, that Suo, like the current master, wants to play Haruta. It's like, yeah, Haruta is way up there. He's above Arata even, because he wasn't. I don't think he was excited about Arata either, Suo.
So that begs the question, the age-old question: who's gonna win? Dr. Harada is down going into this match. It looks like he's down by like 5 cards, which isn't impossible, but it's like a lot. Is he gonna snatch a victory, or is Arata going to walk away facing Suo?
So it would be interesting on one level to have Haruta face off against Suo. Because, I mean, it would be probably more interesting. Like, what would be more interesting, right? Would it be more interesting if Arata faced Suo or Haruta faced Suo? Because it seems like they're really pushing Haruta in this season, and I think that's going to come to an end at some point, and we're going to go back to focusing on our main characters again. And with that in mind, that means that Arata has another opportunity at least to face the new master, which would, if Suo is, let's say Suo and Haruta went up against each other, right? And let's say like Haruta lost. Suo said that he was going to retire if he wins again, right? So would that make Haruta the champ, the new master then, just by default? So in that sense, you would have Haruta as the master, and then he would be the final boss. So that could be kind of interesting. But then would that be too much advantage for Taichi and Chihaya, where they're kind of learning directly from the master himself and know how to beat him? I don't know. I just don't know. And I think like Suo hasn't been developed so much, so we still have so much to learn from him. And I think we're going to learn more about him on the lead up to facing him, probably after this season. I don't know. I was just throwing out a bunch of ideas out there. I don't know what's good.
Me too. Yeah, I'm just because you're at a good mindset in terms of how is that going to work? How is that going to function? What would make sense if Haruta wins? You're right, because then he'd probably lose to Suo, and then Suo would retire and then leave it vacated, or does Haruta beat him, or I don't know. I really have no idea.
And on the other hand too, so like if Arata beats Haruta, he goes up against Suo. Then it's the same situation. If Arata loses against Suo, does that just makes Arata the master? I mean, I think that question of what happens if the master retires is a pretty crucial one, because if we knew how that works, we'd probably be making better, more educated guesses, but we don't know how that works.
Yeah, because we have no idea how.
Yeah.
Some random guys on the street just going to be, it's like, you're the new king, you're the new master. But it would make sense. Like, I can imagine if Arata gets to Suo and loses, because I don't think he'll win. I don't think he'll beat. The way that Suo said that he'll retire and everything like that, I don't think Suo's losing. But then if Arata, retire, or if Suo retires, Arata becomes master, because then the next arc is then it's more of a Taichi focus. Then it's back to what the first season was about, which was getting to Arata, right? That's really what the framework of the first one is. Like, Arata was the shadowy figure who was so good, and Taichi and Chihaya need to work to get to his level, and then the second and third seasons is more like, okay, we're kind of on the same level now.
Right.
Putting Arata in a master position kind of resets it in a different way, where it's just like, okay, now we're back to chasing Arata. Now our goal is back to get him. And I think on a different show, I would call that, that's a regression. That's not as interesting. That's doing the same thing. But it's like, if any show could make it work, it would be Chihayafuru. Yeah. So it's like, if that's what happens, I'd be okay with it. But I don't think that is. But I don't know. Who knows? It's all a mystery. It's all up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's another compliment to the show, that it's so kind of like unpredictable. And as unpredictable as it is, the reveals are still satisfying. The conclusions to things that we were debating on are still satisfying, and they make logical sense within the context of the story and the characters. So I don't even know if I want to guess anymore, because to me it's like a 50-50.
It's going to be completely different.
Yeah. Like, there could be just a completely different answer that I didn't even expect that still makes sense because it's Chihayafuru and has great storytelling. So yeah, I don't know. It's like flipping a coin, honestly.
Yeah. So we'll see. So 2 solid episodes is the overall consensus, is the TLDR. These 2 episodes were good.
Yes, these 2 episodes were good. This show is good. Everyone should watch it. That's all I gotta say.
If you don't, that's all. That was it. We should have just said that. That's all. This should have been a 45-second video.
Why do we keep doing this? Why do we torture ourselves?
Because we love this show, and we love hitting mostly the same points over and over and just talking about how good it is.
Yeah, that's true. We're shills. You know what? I'll admit it. I want a shill for this show. I'm a shill. Watch it.
What's the bad thing about that when you love a show so much that you want to discuss it with somebody who loves it as much as you do?
I see zero.
Remember that time when you didn't like the show?
Those were dark times. The dark times.
Those were the dark days.
Yeah. Well, I have nothing else to say. How about you, Coby?
I don't either. I guess the only thing I was about to say, it's like I'm missing some of our other main characters, like One, Destimo, Porky, and all the first and second years, because the cast is getting bigger, and I miss them in a sense. I was just watching Food Wars, and then this last arc of Food Wars like really focused on the main character group, like more so than anything, and it made me like, I kind of wish it developed more time to the side characters. So that was kind of in my mind going into this chunk of episodes, just like I kind of miss everybody else who we've grown to love.
That's true.
But on the plus side, it's all these other side characters like Harada, like the mom, it's like are just so well developed where I don't mind too much.
I do want to say something. This is my last thing I'll say. Just a really small thing I noticed in this episode. I think it was episode 13, when Chihaya leaves the room and Taichi is sort of looking for her. There's a brief moment when the new girl, I forgot her name, she takes Chihaya's spot next to Taichi, and Taichi is giving it to her because he's moving aside Chihaya's like spot check purse, off of the cushion for the new girl. I don't forget her name, for the new girl to take the spot. So is this foreshadowing of the new girl being Taichi's new one and only true love story romance option? I think yes.
You're You're putting all your card eggs in that basket.
Yes, only because that's what I'm rooting for. Whatever.
Maybe we'll see. Code for no.
All right.
But
Coby, do you want to sign us off?
Sure, you've been listening to this on Nerd Blaze. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We love talking about Chihayafuru, and we hope you guys do too. Leave us a comment and tell us how much you love the show. Go check out some of our other content on our channel. We have some great stuff. Jeff did a fantastic Chihayafuru video that you should really check out. Along with check out our podcast called Anime Ricochet, where two dudes who know nothing about sports talk about sports anime. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.